Good afternoon, everyone. It's Hanifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I have been thinking about ignorance. So, ignorance and darkness have often been linked to similar. So, ignorance and darkness, right? So, someone's in the dark, so it hasn't seen the light, all of that sort of idea. And oftentimes that's linked with the idea of ignorance. That person just doesn't know, right? So, that sort of idea. So, I thought about knowledge and ignorance, and I came across this fantastic quote. This quotation says, it's by Herodotus, by the way, and it says, "The only good is knowledge, and the only evil is ignorance. The only good is knowledge, and the only evil is ignorance." So then this, of course, in this contemplative time where I was thinking about knowledge and ignorance being linked with darkness. So we can say darkness. What is the cause of darkness? What causes darkness? So someone would say it's the absence of light, but is there an absence of light? Because in terms of creating something, what's the source of darkness? So what creates darkness? And most people would say, well, maybe it's just because they haven't seen the light. And that would be implying that the light is there, but they haven't seen it. So we can think about the sun. We can think about today in Ontario, it's a cloudy day. And if I step outside and I don't see the sun, and I can say there's no sun out here, yet I know that the clouds are covering the sun. So maybe I've even seen the clouds take over the spot of the sun, and I know I've seen the sun is there, but I can even know it just by my awareness that the sun is back there somewhere, and I'm just not seeing it. There's that awareness. And again, we just know that this is a bit of a covering on the sun. And let's say someone would say, well, at nighttime there's no sun, so you can't see the sun, except there's an awareness that a different part of the world will have the sun. So the sun is still there, it's just I'm not seeing it. So we come back to ignorance. And when we think about ignorance, oftentimes it is because there is a covering of something that allows a light, right? So this light that we would like to see. Remember that absence cannot create presence of something. So the absence of light does not create darkness. It is something covering the light, right? So if something is hidden, I actually wrote a little note on this, so I make sure that I share this with you. It says, I've written here that ignorance is awareness apparently covered to make it look as if, right? So as if there's no knowledge there, right? So it's covered. The knowledge is there, yet it's covered. And this whole idea of uncovering what covers our knowledge, our inherent awareness of knowledge, of truth, it's something that I, of course, help people try to discover. I was going to say that in terms of darkness or ignorance, you know that ignorance can be removed, right? So if I'm ignorant about some detail and I learn about it, I'm no longer ignorant, right? So this removes my ignorance, right? So this is something that we know that doesn't have a full concrete truth behind it, right? It's not actually substantial, right? Does it even exist? Ignorance, right? Because if ignorance is the truth or knowledge that's just been covered up by other things that are clouding our minds, does it even exist? So then does evil exist, right? So this whole darkness or this evil or ignorance, all of these things is just really uncovering the truth of what's within. And this is what I would love for you to sit and think about today. This is a deep thought, so it might take some good 10 minutes of reflective time. Take as much time as you'd like, but definitely think about this idea because, again, ignorance and knowledge are very closely interacting, or at least connected, because really beneath the ignorance is the knowledge, is the sun behind the clouds. So I came across another quotation, which I really liked, which says, this was by Confucius. It used to be one of my favorite speakers. references for quotations. And I have to say that this one I really loved. It says, real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. Real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. So no matter how much we know or we think we know, there's always more to know. And that's the awareness of our own ignorance of how much is there to know if we'll allow that knowledge to reveal itself. And I think a lot of people would think, well, yeah, of course we can read books and we can study texts, or we can reflect. And I'd say reflection or contemplation or meditation will bring some truths to light or knowledge to light that often are hidden away. And of course, you know that I strongly recommend doing this regularly. I also thought that if someone heard this quotation, they'd think, oh, well, you know, when you learn something, then you know. So, of course, then there's no ignorance. And there's a lot of people that can get into an ego stage, even spiritual ego, to move into a space of I know things and I know them well and I don't need to know anymore because now I know. And it's a very lucky experience if someone is in that true knowledge of a much greater amount of awareness, I'll say. And that's great. And there's always more. There's always expansion happening. There's always more to know. And this is that true wisdom and real knowledge also is to know that extent of one's ignorance. So you would think, how is that possible? And we can use any example, but the one that comes to mind is, you know, for a long time we were convinced, humans were convinced that the earth was flat. Right? So remember, they believed the earth was flat until we could get out into space and see the earth from a different perspective. We didn't realize that the earth was round. And people really believed this, right? That we are on a flat earth. And so remembering those sorts of things, of course, we know things about science change too regularly. So what we know today, we will know something different tomorrow. And I'd like you to keep that in mind. Today, I would love for you to sit for those 5 to 10 minutes and think about what are some of the areas that you might be less knowledgeable or less aware of the knowledge that's really within. Can you go within to see that, wow, you know, I really believed this in the past, and then I learned this, and now I know this? Because that would be a fantastic way for you to understand your mind. And the last quotation I want to end this video with is by Stephen Hawking, a very intelligent thinker, as you might know. So he said, the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it's the illusion of knowledge. The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge. And this is what I want to remind you, that the illusion that we knew that the earth was flat came to light, right? It came to light when we were able to see the earth from a different angle. Same thing for different things that are happening, whether you hear about things politically, whether you hear about things health-wise, whether you think about things in terms of just basic learning and day-to-day experiences. You will notice that you can remove your ignorance by revealing the knowledge within. I hope you spend 5 to 10 minutes to remember those details today. I wish you a fantastic day ahead, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.